Hello and welcome to Dog Day Chess. In this episode we're going to look at interference. Interference is a tactic that involves breaking the contact between two pieces by interposing a third piece in between the two. It's often used to break the contact between a piece and its defender, leaving the first piece undefended. So let's have a look at an example. In this example, I'm playing black, and as you can see, this white pawn is being attacked by my bishop, but it's being defended by the queen. So what I do is I move my bishop here to d4, and I'm breaking the contact that the queen has with the pawn, leaving the pawn undefended. My bishop is interfering with the queen's defense of that pawn. Now this move is actually a check, so if the king moves out of the check, then I can capture that hanging pawn. Now what actually happened in the game is that white responded by blocking the check with his bishop, and after the exchange of bishops I was still able to win the pawn. In this example I'm playing white, and as you can see I'm struggling. I'm down in material, and all I've got going for me is this advanced passed pawn. So unfortunately for me, I missed an opportunity to use interference to get that pawn promoted, because what I did from this position is I moved my king down to f2, trying to prevent the rook, the black rook, from sliding in behind my pawn at g1. So instead what black did was he moved his rook up beside, attacking my pawn. After I pushed the pawn, he slid the rook behind it, and then all I could do to keep the pawn was move my bishop in behind it. But eventually I was not able to safely promote the pawn. It did get captured. If we go back to that initial position, what I should have played here was g7. And then, after the rook came in behind my pawn, I could have brought my bishop here to g3 and broken the contact between the rook and the pawn, so creating interference between the rook and the pawn. And this would have allowed me to safely promote the pawn and turn the tables in this game. You also want to make sure that you don't create interference for yourself. If we look at this position, you'll see that I, playing white, have two attackers attacking this e4 pawn, my knight and my rook, and black has two defenders defending it, his knight and his queen. So the balance of power is even. However, black with the move pushes his c pawn to c6, cutting off the queen from defending that pawn, creating interference for himself. And this allowed me to capture that pawn safely. So these are a few examples of interference. And as always, I hope you learned something from this episode, and thanks for watching.